we go. So my name is Malcolm. I'm the community organizer with TTF. And I'll pass it to Dorian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dorian with the Community Watershed Leaders for TTF. I'll pass it to Alex.
Hey everyone, I know you all know me. I'm Alex, I'm the stewardship leader, and thank you for joining. I'm at my camera off because I'm on my phone, so it doesn't lag out, but just want everyone to be aware. I'll pass it to Pete.
Hi everybody, I'm Pete. I like to walk around the park and see animals and take pictures and try not to get too frustrated with the ATV track marks. But for the most part, it's a blessing being in the park, especially in the morning, and very calming. So I hope we have a fun meeting tonight.
Will you pick somebody to go next?
Oh, sorry. Migdalia.
Hi, I'm Migdalia, and I'm a volunteer for the watershed off and on when I'm able to. And I also enjoy the park. And I like your waterfall. Your background is beautiful.
Migdalia, who do you want to go next?
Fiona, is she available?
Hi, my name's Fiona and I live pretty close to the Tugony Creek, and I volunteer when I can. And I really like walking around and seeing the full colors. So I call on Montez.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Montez Devine. I'm a board member with Tacony Creek. I also work for the city of Philadelphia temporarily as a seasonal maintenance attendant. Glad everybody made it. I picked Peter Carter.
So Eric is the person who has not. I think we started before you got on, Montez. So
Yes.
Eric is the only person I think that hasn't gone, right?
Okay.
I believe so. My name is Eric Blackson. I live in Feltonville, and I get to bike through the park every day on my way to and from work, and try to fix things along.
Okay. So I just, you guys know there's no staff in the park. There's no Parks and Rec staff in the park. So, it's us when we're out, and that's mostly Alex and Montez. And then, you guys who keep us informed. So it's, it's really ridiculous that that's the way it is. But Parks and Rec doesn't know about issues unless we tell them. So I just want to thank everybody for keeping us informed. I mean, you guys should not hesitate to call the office or email us or even text us. I'm happy to give you guys my cell number, because the faster we get information into the city, the more we can start bugging them about solving the problem. So they always ask us about 311, always. So when we see things, we always report it to 311. But then we also, begin a process of emailing them and bugging them and reminding how much time it has been since something has been there. So, we really, we're pains in the necks, and we don't really care at this point anymore. And sometimes it is more effective. Sometimes we post things and they get mad at us, and we don't really care about that either. So, recently there were 2 actual trucks in the creek. And I don't know about the one behind Friends Hospital. I think that may still be there, but there was one between Tabor and Bingham. And somebody posted it on Instagram that I know, and that really doesn't do us any good. We need somebody, we need a picture, we need a location. And I followed up with him and got the information, and the city removed the truck. The city got out there. The police came because, you know, that's a crime, basically. So they had to get information from the truck and see what they could learn, and then it was removed. I went to look for it, was it yesterday or the day before, and it was gone, which was really great. So the only way that that happens is with you guys telling us about those things. Dallas, hi, you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about my tardiness. My name is Dallas Herbert. I'm with 215 PA, and I like to volunteer with you guys.
Thank you. So just, you know, that's the update. We need you to see us stuff. And we're happy to contact, you know, the city in terms of parks, the water department, streets, the police. You know, sometimes, you know how crazy the city is. So not everybody has enough, nobody has enough resources, at sort of the, you know, the line anyway. And there's a lot of protocol for getting things done. And we just, you know, we try to focus on bugging whichever agency is going to do it. And sometimes if that doesn't work, we, you know, we post something or we go to an elected official. The tires under Whitaker have were like 3 weeks. And I think today the streets department came out because Parks and Rec couldn't, they don't have the equipment and the crews to get that stuff out. So I don't know if anybody's been there. It's been really frustrating to us to have that, you know, hundreds of tires. And I think streets got them out today. I don't know. Montez, were you near there?
Yes, actually, I participated with them. Now the trucks did say, the trucks did say Parks. They sent out 2 trucks. I wasn't with them when the second truck got there, but I was with them during the first truck. Helped them remove a few tires, but there was a lot of tires.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then like kind of getting the trucks down into that area was difficult. So that has to be considered too, I guess. They said like they wound up, like they did a good job, but they wound up hitting the tree on their way down, which they said they removed the branch, but I wasn't there to confirm that. So
Okay.
so I'll see that tomorrow.
They get all the tires out?
Like I said, I wasn't there for the second roundup.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So that took a while to get done. So, you know, just sort of an update.
Bike through there tomorrow and let you know.
That would be great. So the other stuff that we really, you know, that we wanted to talk about, and, you know, Alex is on as well, and he's the one who's out in the park the most. We got we got 6 cans out there. It was a major, you know, negotiation about getting those 6 trash cans out there. People are using them. They're not really dumping next to them because they're not in the places that you would really do that. But because of those cans, we bought a gator. So we actually spent $27,000 on a gator because we have to move the bags. And, you know, we really didn't have any way to do that. So Alex can talk a little bit about the gator. It gives us some additional capacity to do projects. You know, we own some other stuff. We own a chainsaw, we own a mower, we own a lot of other tools. What we were thinking about is getting a winch for the gator, which is, I mean, I didn't know anything about buying a gator. So this is all very new to me, but there's a lot of wonderful things you can add to it. And that would give us the capacity to do some more significant projects like moving trees across ATV paths. So, you know, I don't know, Alex, if you want to add anything else, but we thought it would be a good time. I know Pete probably has ideas to just sort of go around and talk about, oh, look at that emoji thing there, to go around and talk about what projects we could do, because it would be, you know, I think it would be effective and a lot more fun than cleaning up trash for a work day. So Alex, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Pretty much the Gators, I think it's gonna assist with being more out in the park, getting more done during the day. Uh, Definitely would like to get the winch to move some trees to some erosion spots. That's been, obviously being being maintained by the ATVs in a negative way. Um, so yeah, no, you pretty much said what we would like to get her to be used.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop talking, and if people want to jump in and just kind of have a conversation, and if people have other ideas about projects potentially that we could do, we have a whole master plan, but I think we don't want to wait around to get that funded. Would like to get some really positive things done, just like the signage and the benches that Eric did. Let's keep moving on projects like this.
Julie, I have a question. What's a gator? What's
Alex, you want to explain what it is? I don't know if we can bring up a picture.
It's more like a utility vehicle. It's like a small. It's like a more like It's like bigger, kind of like a four wheeler. You know what a four wheeler is,
Yes.
Natalia? So it's like
Uh-huh.
it's basically like a bigger version of a four wheeler, except it's just like a vehicle in a way.
Oh,
Where it's made for terrains. Um, and Eric Blackson shared a file in the meeting.
oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
There's a picture.
That's pretty cool.
All right, cool.
That's-
There we go. Yeah, I'll say we have something similar to the first photo, all the way to the top left.
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you. I know it's a silly question, but I had no clue what it was.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's not silly.
Okay.
I just included a picture of us using the gator to move the trash bags that Julie had mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Dad. No.
So, Pete, I know we've talked about projects before. Got any ideas?
So yeah, can I include the gator picture in my next Instagram post?
Yes.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
I
think
have a photo of the gator when it looked at brand new before we got it dirty.
No, we like it dirty. I like it dirty.
Oh, okay, cool, no problem. Okay.
I think I literally saw it the other day, and at first I was upset because I'm like, oh no, here comes another, vehicle, and I'm pretty sure that was it. So I saw you guys working. That's great stuff.
Yeah. We haven't put any markings on it or anything. I
Yeah,
haven't
no, I
been
think
on.
it's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess Julie, the truck down on the Scattergood property, obviously is really their responsibility. I mean, I did a 311 for an abandoned vehicle, gave them a GPS, and the city said we need a street address, which obviously is not going to happen when something's in the creek. So, have you talked to your board yet about what's going on with Scattergood? Because we've kind of been at this for like 3 years and haven't made any headway.
No, I know. I think, what ends up happening is the city ends up getting it out of there anyway. Because it's in the middle of the creek, and Joe Pyle is not going to spend the money to get it out, most likely. And we've been talking to the board about this. When the natural lands people talk to Joe, they really got the sense about how limited his his interest is in spending money to make his property less, it makes the fact that you can get anywhere on that property puts it in danger and also puts the park in danger.
Right.
I mean, he doesn't help with this stuff. So we actually have a contract with him. You know, he was trying to get us funding once he got the easement funded. And basically what we probably end up with a few $1,000s every year from that. And then we manage the property of Friends Hospital where the stormwater project is. You know, we planted trees there and everything. I mean, I don't know why, you know, I mean, he could find somebody else to do that, a contractor. You know, what I want to try to do is actually really have see if I can have a conversation with him, because we would rather he spend that money on improvements to the property that make it less accessible.
Right.
So, I mean, one thing we can do is, if you want to, I mean, you've written some great stuff. I think we should put together a letter to him that comes from a lot of community folks. It can come from TTF people and the board and other people, just to keep trying to really pressure him. You know, at this point, he's, you know, they're looking to bring a health center there that most of the people in the neighborhood are opposed to.
Right.
So it's hard to work with him. I mean, I've been bugging him, you know, every year we give him a proposal. Every 2 years we give him a proposal for that maintenance. And we always add things on that we want to get funded, but he doesn't want to pay for.
Yeah, and that's why I frankly think it's kind of a board thing of, and not like quote unquote to go over his head, but just to say, and I think I said it in one of my emails, like, I'm the kind of guy who tends to bite the hand that feeds me, which doesn't make bosses too happy. But Natural Lands really put out for that property. I mean, they put out some serious money for that property. And the question is just, okay, what we need a plan to maintain it. And
Right.
so that's what we need, not just, you know, kind of, it's not about bugging Joe whenever there's a problem. It's what's your plan to maintain that property? Because right now it's basically the scattergood ATV park. That's basically what it is right now. I mean, there's 4 other vehicles down the back part.
Yeah.
Time we go down with my grandson to throw rocks in the creek, there's people coming by. I mean, it's basically what it is right now. And I don't think that's what Natural Lands, that was their plan. So if they don't want that to continue to get worse, the question is, what's your plan, right? We need a plan to maintain it.
Right. And he, you know, I mean, they hold the easement there, and they're not like you or me, Pete. They're peacemakers. And after you know, they really are. So I'm like, you guys hold the easement. Can't you put more pressure on them? And they, you know, they try to maintain these relationships. But after that whole pump track was built, you know, they came out, they did a plan for restoring that area, and we got a grant for the trees that got planted. You know, Joe didn't really put any money into it except for leveling the spot, and he really hasn't done anything to protect it.
Yeah, and most of those trees have been run over.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So there needs to be a plan, and the tough part is Natural Lands really put out, we don't want to kind of do this whole go over Joe's head, but I think it might be to that point where, in a positive way, just saying you need a plan to maintain it, you know, because there's no gate. There is drivable access to the creek right now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So
no matter how many vans and trucks you pull out of there, they're just going to keep showing up.
Whereabouts is it? I'm sorry, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, this is hi Fiona. This is Friends Hospital. So do you know where Fisher's Lane Bridge is?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so right north of that, to the right is the Friends Hospital property. You know, long story short, they actually own the creek and over into the kind of the park side. And that was made Natural Lands put out a bunch of money to make that an easement. So ironically, so it would not be developed.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it's being developed as an ATV park.
Mhm.
In effect, that's what's happening.
Right.
So
Because it's so beautiful back there.
yeah, I mean it is, and it used to be. I mean, it's right. I mean, there's 4 other vehicles on the other side. What they do, and Julie knows this, they come down from Penway Street.
Yeah.
And there's a hill there, and they just come down there and they just do whatever. And so, we need about 40 big logs put up at the top of Penway Street so they can't get down there anymore. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's not Scattergood's fault that people are doing this, but
Mhm.
Natural Lands needs a plan. It can't just be, hey, we bought the land, you're good. There needs to be a plan in place. Somebody needs to monitor the property and
Right. And they didn't get enough money. So, the easement gets created. There's like 50 acres of Scattergood that is an easement that Natural Lands holds. And I think they only got $250,000. So what that means is they put that money in the bank, and it sounds like a lot of money, but at 4%, it doesn't make enough a year for them to manage the property. And Natural Lands need to do. And the thing that's good about that, the master plan was funded by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. They're the ones that fund easements. And maybe they need to provide additional funding so Scattergood is managed if they're going to be investing into Coney Creek Park. Because it's crazy to not do both sides of the creek.
right. If you're going to have a landlord, they need to be engaged, right? I mean, I've used, because if I write a letter, it like you said, I'm not a peacemaker. It's going to say things like absentee landlord and stuff like that. And I don't think we really want to go there. I think we want to show appreciation in Natural Lands, but just say, this is a city, we need a plan, because right now it's much worse than it was when they first bought it.
Right. And, with easements that they hold, like in more suburban and rural areas, they wouldn't let this happen.
One, they wouldn't let it happen, and 2, you don't have the kind of stuff going on,
Right.
that you have in the city.
Yeah, population density is just so high.
Yeah.
And I mean, could we get the city of Philadelphia to do something? Parks and Rec? No.
No, I mean, as far as it's a private property.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what's ridiculous is I'm posting pictures like, come help this property, and it's not even the park. It's not even the cities. It's private. So really the Scattergood's got to do it. And again, just need a plan.
Okay. Thank you. I'm with you, Pete. Hey, Frank. You are muted, but we see your smiling face. There he is. So project ideas. I know that, again, Pete, I know, has ideas. Maybe Eric. Eric, are you still on? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, Julie, you already mentioned it, but and then I had talked to Montez about it, getting the gator, getting a winch, couple of chainsaws, cutting up a lot of the dead wood on the other side of the creek from Friends, and just lining it up along the wall there to stop the traffic. So something like that.
Okay. And that would be like up near Penway?
That's too big an area. I'm talking about the, right across the creek from Friends, there's those 2 ruts that they basically drive down in to cross the creek. And so just basically, lining up a bunch of dead wood right in front of those things. But I mean, it's an endless job, but that's just kind of a start to let them know that, yeah, we're actually watching this property now.
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, there's a lot of tree trunks in the park that if you can just move in the right place, you're gonna have to keep, it's like whack-a-mole, but I think it will frustrate, maybe people will get frustrated enough and just go someplace else.
Concern I have about that is that they won't go somewhere else in the city, but they'll just make another trail right next to it. And yeah, like they'll just create another rut in another spot. They've done a couple of those along Fisher's Lane,
Mhm.
on the road itself, where they've created new inlets and outlets. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing because they're just coming from all directions, and I agree with you, Eric. It's a tough thing. They're just gonna try to cross somewhere else. So that's why it really needs to be a plan of not just blocking, but also stuff out by the street, also some kind of monitoring program, whatever.
Sorry.
There's a bunch of possibilities to try to get this done. But like I've said to people in our civic association, they shouldn't even sell ATVs in the city. I mean, if they're illegal to ride in the city, why do you even bother selling them in the city? And you guys probably hear this story. I mean, these places get robbed. I mean, they rob these places and take a bunch of, they don't even buy them. So there's all kinds of levels of things that can be done. But yeah, it is a big problem, and it's not a simple solution.
Sorry to
Mhm.
butt in at the moment, but and I understand there's a lot of concerns that comes with this. Personally, we can only do so much as a collective group of concerned citizens. We can only approach the situation with the knowledge that we have. I feel like with what we can do, we can try to at least divert traffic, so at least only a minimal amount of land is given way to, if that makes sense. We can't stop everything, but we can at least kind of like funnel it into certain areas or certain directions. And I know that's not a solution, but it can at least like if you control the pathways that are being taken and kind of block off the more like the more openly destructive or the more like accessible areas, then it kind of only leaves certain paths open. And I know that's not what a lot of us want, but if we can't completely get rid of something, we can at least try to like channel it, if that makes sense. And so yeah, I do believe that like a lot of the like using the materials that are around to make blockades in certain areas is definitely like a good thing, but we can't stop everything. And so like the I feel like to me the next best thing is just to at least channel it a certain way, or at least channel it to where it's not being completely disruptive to people who want to just enjoy the park. And I feel like that's really the next is not a solution, but it's the next best option in a sense. And maybe there's better options. I don't really know too much about a lot of these subjects, but I feel like at least constricting it, at least putting some like we can't go to these people and tell them, oh, this is the rules. You have to take this route. But if we, enforce this with, doing these, setting up these blockades and using like the natural resources there to like, kind of discourage people from going one way, but I'm not saying encourage because we're not trying to encourage anything, but keep it like stay on path in a sense, then then we can work at that.
I mean, it's illegal for people to be in that park on a motorized vehicle.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I understand.
So, but one of the good things about the master plan, the drawings and more specific stuff is there's a map of where, they're recommending more permanent, they did maps of all these trails. So there is a way, I think we would look at what makes the most sense. And I think we're really familiar with where the trails start, and what are the most damaging. And I think you just, you have to do it in a really strategic way. you know, there was a road that the water department created because they were doing some infrastructure work probably 6 years ago, that ran down from the corner of Rising Sun and Alney. That when the water department was done was just a road that the ATVs were using to get into the park. And Parks and Rec actually pulled a tree trunk across it. And if you now walk by there, there's grass, like they close that off with something that nobody can move. So, you know, then they move to sort of an area at the Alney Field, which we know is, you know, completely open. But, you know, I would advocate that there's one spot there where you could really block it. And then when they start another one, you block it there. And then at some point we get enough funding to just make it inaccessible. Parks and Recreation actually got an estimate for fencing. You know, they did that fencing at Adams Avenue that looks really nice, that makes it look like it's actually a park at that corner. And they actually got an estimate for fencing along Alney Ave with that kind of fence. It's like a split rail fence, I think is what it's called. And the price tag for that is $50,000. But I don't think that's unreasonable if we're looking at really making a difference in the park. And, you know, that's something. The city council just got new lights at Verde at the Boys and Girls Club because the lights were stolen or something. And that's $50,000. So, you know, I think you start plugging those holes. You got to start someplace, and you just do it in a strategic way.
Yeah, I agree with you, Julie. And I heard about the lights at Alney Field. Yeah, I heard about that. That was crazy.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. Nobody told me. So it's always good information to know those kind of things. So Eric, do you have other ideas?
Something I've been like kind of trying to figure out is like kind of the paradox of people that are on ATVs and dirt bikes they are park users in a sense, and very active park users in a sense. And they're people, and they're part of the community that everyone else that also uses the park are part of. And so, like, while yes, I don't want them in the park on motorized vehicles and all the complicated things that go along with it, like I don't want to demonize them completely. And I don't have any expertise in this, but I wonder if there's ways for like conversation in some way, and not just like, oh, those evil people who are destroying the park that we're all loving. Like someone used the phrase of like trying to enjoy the park. Like they're enjoying the park in a way, like they're doing a recreational activity that is done in lots of other places. And
Right.
so I don't know how to, like, it's a weird conundrum. But yeah, I wonder, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an element of like people don't take care of things when it looks like other people don't care about it. But there is lots of people that care about Tacony Creek Park and its environmental elements of it. And so I don't know if there's a way to like convey that message in some way. And I think another big element of it is like, so many times I see like children running around, and that really concerns me. And I like that's what frustrates me the most when I see motorized vehicles in the park, is like when there's kids right around the corner, and I try to slow them down when I can in some way.
Right.
But,
you know, I mean, we had a little girl whose finger was broken.
Yeah.
By somebody, you know, so I agree with you. I feel like, though, I think that you know, we're not part of that. I mean, I don't understand the ATV thing at all. So I can't even talk about it. But you know, I don't feel like feel like people in that community who use ATVs and live near the park um I agree with you about a conversation. I mean, I would love it if people who, you know, live in the neighborhood and see this as something they want to, you know, that's important to them would, you know, that we could start a conversation about it. We actually tried to get the city council people to sort of lead that with the idea that, you know, they could help, and we just haven't been able to find anybody who wants to go out and talk to people and try to have people talk to each other,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm, you know, I'm sort of done with yelling at people. But I do know, you know, I think for some people, I mean, I used to see the same people on dirt bikes all the time. You know, the same people, and they live in the neighborhood. And like you said, they're enjoying it, and they're using the trail to commute or get to their friends or something. And not, I think a lot of people don't realize the damage. You know, it's that weird thing that you were talking about. It's like, it's really beautiful, and that's why people go there, but at the same time as they're there, they're like destroying it. So
Yeah. I just don't know how like long-term effective, I think there is a place for blocking trails and things, but if it's only that, that's kind of a passive aggressive approach of just like not talking to them ever and just putting up logs everywhere they go. I think there needs to be other elements to.
Yeah, it has to be a bigger plan, and like you're saying, Eric, all those things have to be taken into account. There is a, you know, why is it like this? What needs being filled? Not to patronize the people, because I totally agree. They're enjoying it in their own way, and this is done in other parts of the state where there are legitimate places you can go and do this stuff. And you know, lower income folks don't have trailers and maybe can't afford to drive to the Poconos every weekend. So yeah, there are some other issues. So that's why it has to be a sort of a multi-level analysis and plan. It's not an easy answer one way or another.
I have a question. Is there a specific time or dates that these ATVs are going through the parks? Or is it just constant?
It's pretty constant from what I see. I mean, it's on the daily, for sure. More so in, I don't know if I can say what a season that it happens more in. Kind of like when it really gets full in the summer, it slows down a little bit because a lot of vegetation covers up the trails.
Okay.
But on nicer days, there's definitely more activity out there. On both sides of the creek, both on the Scattergood side, and particularly like I bike along to Whitaker Avenue and like the side that on the Wyoming Avenue side of the park. But yeah, sometimes it's just one person. Sometimes it's a whole bunch of vehicles. Sometimes it's people and their girlfriends are on the back and they're just out cruising and yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also a time of day thing. I mean, that's the duality of the park is you can go out first thing in the morning and have a quiet bird watch and it's all good, but then you go back in the afternoon and that's when it's more likely there's going to be ATVs out. So it's kind of a time of day thing.
Yeah.
Sure. You know, and the Scattergood thing, there are whole other issues with the Scattergood thing. I mean, the whole purpose of that property of Scattergood, which was Thomas Scattergood's plan in 1813, was let's have a nice natural property here that the patients can enjoy, which that's obviously not happening. But that's a whole nother, that's outside the realm of TTF. But just to get the kind of the scope of sort of the ridiculousness of it on the Scattergood side. But yeah, it again, that's why it's a big issue. There's multi-levels, there's legal, there's equality issues, so to speak, that so yeah, there's a lot to it, and it needs to kind of be at another level. I think with the board kind of talking to natural lands and going, we need a plan here, talking to the city and coming up with something that can be sort of consistently implemented.
Yeah, because it definitely feels unique to Coney Creek, like being kind of the third largest watershed park. Like Wissahickon and Pennypack don't really have these issues nearly to the same degree.
Yeah, it's kind of because it's a middle of the city part. I mean, that's what's so different about it. It's right down the middle of the city.
But I mean,
in the middle of
runs
neighborhoods, whereas Pennypack it's kind of out there, and Wissahickon's out at the other end. So it's a little different because it's right, right smack in the middle of, I don't know the best term, lower income neighborhoods or whatever, where you're more likely to have this folks doing this for fun.
Does this happen on the Ramona Trail too?
This happens in the whole park.
And the whole park?
Yeah, the meadows are, so there's kind of a two-step, like if you're above Adams, it's not very wide there. So yeah, they're mainly just gonna, or not above Adams, but below Adams, they're just mainly gonna be on the trail. There's not much more they can do than be on the trail. But where you have a meadow like the Fisher's Lane Meadow or hills like Scattergood, that's where it really becomes fun for them, because then they can do all kind of dirt bikey stuff. They're not just riding on a paved trail. So there's a couple different ways it kind of plays out.
Well, I personally feel like it feels it's kind of like a personal responsibility type thing. And so like when it was suggested that we should try to like approach the people who use the park in this way, I know that's a very like abstract type thing, but if it's if I feel like if more people take personal responsibility in what they do, and see, that's just my philosophy. I do feel like it should be a conversation though, and this conversation might have been had, like, because I'm, like I said, I'm not that read up on things, but I feel like I said, unfortunately, we can only where we are, we can only enforce so much. If we try to address this in more of a like a handshake type of situation, like we're trying to see eye to eye in this, then at some point it has to be a point where we kind of like come to an agreement, or kind of like, and I know it was said it was kind of like passive aggressive, but like you can't, how do I put it? You can we can try to inform people and educate. Like we the best thing we can do is like at this point the best thing we can do is educate those that are concerned. And I know that a lot of people that do use ATVs or do destructive things in the park aren't really so much concerned about the betterment of it, but it's still a jump, it's still a starting point at least. As Pete said earlier, like, yeah, a lot of people can't afford to just enjoy their rides in areas that condone it. But I do think there is something with trying to speak to the neighborhood or trying to speak to the people that are concerned, and hopefully give enough information and education so that they could influence the people who do use the park for not so for reasons that we don't really agree with. There definitely has to be a conversation had about it. Because it's because people, like, just like on the roads, everybody drives differently. You can preach to use the speed limit, and that stop signs are there for a reason, but it doesn't necessarily mean people are going to like follow that.
Right. Then you just take away their license.
Well, and the good news is the good news is everything that TTF does helps with this issue, because I really like what the guy said at the master plan meeting about you have to obtain critical mass. And I think what he meant by that is, the more children you educate, with your nature trails, the more you do education and you get people appreciating that side of the park, the more the neighborhood itself is going to take responsibility and sort of self-monitor this themselves. So that's the good news, is really everything that TTF does benefits this, and education is obviously always part of the solution to it. But yeah, there's a lot.
Mhm.
Can
So I
there
just-
be like, I'm sorry, can there be like a flyer? So it could be handed out to them with, I don't know, maybe some educational material about where they can go legally if they can afford it, or like, yeah, like they said, like to educate them, but also to instill the rules and what they're really doing to the vegetation and the animals around there. Like, you know, educate them that way with a flyer or something, backed up by the city or Park and Rec, whoever it is.
Well, that would be, you know, we would do that. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really good, you know, after the little girl was hurt, you know, we put out a lot of information. We posted a blog. We have, you know, we printed something out that talked about like our philosophy and everything. We could certainly make a flyer in some different I mean, it would need to be in English and Spanish. We'll try to explain to people that it's dangerous. You know, I don't know what to tell people about alternatives,
Right.
because I don't know what kind of alternatives there are, which is what's frustrating for people, I think. Anyway, what time is it? I just want to be conscious of everybody's time. My stomach is growling. I don't know about you.
It's
6:52. Yeah.
Okay. So anybody have other stuff that you want to mention that we didn't talk about?
Well, I would like to say,
Really quick, Julie, I congratulations on your retirement. I've been
Yes.
wanting to retire from doing stuff like this for like 30 years. But I'm still here. But also, you know, obviously this becomes part of the looking forward in terms of a new executive director and kind of like what are sort of the plans and what are the ideas and how can coordination be done with groups like Scattergood and Parks and Rec. So anyway, congratulations and thanks for hanging with us, even though you're
Short timer. Thank you.
it's a compliment.
You know, my big concern, I mean, I'm really concerned about making sure there's somebody really good that comes in as an executive director. And I think, you know, I think we're also looking at getting a position funded that's really a park director. You know, the park, you know, it shouldn't be the executive director of TTF that's like calling Parks and Recreation about a truck. Or those kind of things. The park really needs a director. And that's one of the things that Parks and Rec doesn't really have. There's only one in the city. But we're hoping that we can get the William Penn Foundation and maybe some other folks to fund something like that. So somebody that's really knowledgeable about how to run a park and maintain a park and, you know, make sure there's good programming and everything, that isn't just the director of TTF that's like also the director of Tacony Creek Park. That's the hope.
well, I would like to say, I would like to thank you guys for allowing me to volunteer at the Fall Festival. I got to meet more keepers and more volunteers, and I enjoyed myself. I wanted to say thank you for allowing me to do that.
Of course, thank you for helping to volunteer. I know it was a big help to have people volunteer, so we really appreciate you, Dallas.
Yeah. It sounded like it was a great event. I missed it. I had COVID. So just letting people know, we have Love Your Park on November 11th. We'll be sending out that information, and an email just went out, I think yesterday, with upcoming programs, bird walks, the We Walk, the runs, all that kind of stuff, if people are interested. So thank you. I'm not going to be gone till the end of June. So, and you know, I think it will be stay away from All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Nice meeting
night.
everybody.
Good to see all of you.
You too. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you for the invite, Malcolm.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Good night.